Hello, horse girls and guys. Welcome back. Hope y'all have had a good week and are having a good spooky season. Today is October 13th. So we're halfway through October. I'm kind of depressed about it. Not gonna lie. I haven't really enjoyed spooky season at all this year. Just because of work and horses and things, but normally I try to go to the pumpkin patch at least once. I was trying to get my sister a couple weeks ago to go to the pumpkin patch with my nephews because I feel like to go to the pumpkin patch you have to have an excuse like of having a child to go there, which obviously you don't, but I feel like awkward showing up at the pumpkin patch and like riding the tractor rides and stuff just as adults. So I'm like, we need to borrow your kids so that we can go and not look like we're just children in our 20s. But the problem with taking kids is that they're expensive. Like they want the biggest pumpkin, and of course they're like charging you by the pound, and then they want all this food, and they want to do all the activities which cost extra. But it's whatever. We still haven't gone, so it's not like it matters. But yeah. Well, I'll hold out for maybe going sometime this month, but it has been so cold the last few days, and we're having kind of an issue at my house, a little bit of a dilemma, which isn't a huge deal, and it's honestly saving money, so it's kind of whatever. But we still haven't turned on our heat or anything. Like our furnace is not running, and basically, well, we're just not turning it on yet because our propane tank is like down to 10%, and they're not coming to refill it. And I think they just haven't been here to refill it because we're still like paying off the fills from like the spring and summer, because your propane company will just show up whenever they want and not tell you, no, like, forewarning that they're coming to fill your tank. So they just show up whenever and fill like hundreds of dollars worth of propane into it. And then they just leave you a ticket thing, receipt on your door. And so they like would come just whenever and fill it, like during the summer when we don't need it, and then like would rack up hundreds of dollars. And they haven't been here to refill it in quite a while. So we think they're just like waiting for us to pay it off before they come fill it again. And there's not that much left on there, but so we just haven't turned on our heat yet, which isn't that big of a deal. Like it's been warm enough during the day. It gets pretty warm in here. Actually, the last few days I thought it was kind of stuffy and hot in here, but it's in the morning. Like it's so cold in the morning because we've gone all night. And part of the problem is because our air conditioners are still in the windows. So like that's kind of going to be on my list today of things I'd like to do. The problem is they're so heavy. Like usually my boyfriend deals with them, but I think it honestly would make a big difference because like, you know how your air conditioner is supposed to like stretch and extend all the way like to cover the whole opening of the window? They don't really do that very well. So we just have like pieces of foam and stuff stuck in the side to like fill the space, which has worked all summer. It's been fine. But now that it's cold, it's like seeping in just like a bunch of cold air and like breeze. So I just want to take them out. And I think that will really help like keep the warm air in the house. My boyfriend also has a window open, I'm pretty sure, in his game room, which is fine because, it needs to be aired out in there anyway, and I'm not going to get into that. But that is also not helping when he leaves the door open to the game room. So I keep it shut to keep the cold air in that room. But yeah, so I'm going to try and take out our air conditioners today. Wish me luck that I don't drop one on my foot because they're not light. And I have not been working out, like I used to. So yeah, that's a struggle. But in other news, it's been very windy the last few days. So I haven't been able to do a whole lot outside like I'd like to. I need to work on fence and I have like wood and stuff to cut up, but it's been so windy the last few days. Like I think it's just the cold fronts moving in and stuff, but it's really inconvenient. Really haven't worked with the horses. But this weekend, excuse me. I already drank my coffee this morning, so What was I saying? This weekend, I have 2 trail rides. I have a trail ride on each day that I want to go to. And I'm not looking forward to spending any money on fuel, but I decided, you know what? Cold is coming. We may not get any trail rides next month in November. Who knows what the weather's going to be like. Let's just use the weekend, get our riding in, and enjoy the decent weather while we still have it. So I'm going to a trail ride Saturday and Sunday. So if you guys would like me to vlog, I will. But yeah, I'm gonna try and get my riding in before the season is over. I think I'm gonna take Luna one day and BB another day, because BB like hasn't been ridden that much this year, as you guys know. But I think she can do a trail ride. So yeah. Today we're gonna be talking a little bit about why owning horses just kind of sucks. And there's obviously so many awesome positive things about owning horses, which I think I've made pretty clear on my channel. But there's also a lot of downsides. And now that I'm talking for the first time this morning, I'm going to yawn probably every 5 minutes. So my apologies in advance. But yeah, why owning horses kind of sucks. And I was thinking about this one day when I was talking to my vlog about all the things I have to do around the acreage, because there's always something that needs to be done, and it's just never ending. Like you can never keep up with it. There's always something that's gonna just come up that needs fixed or broke and needs cleaned up or just something. So yeah, I was like, I just need to talk about one day why like having your horses at home just really sucks, or like having a horse property just kind of sucks. But then also like boarding kind of sucks. So it just all kind of sucks. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So I was talking about that, I think, was it because of my fence? I'm trying to remember what I was talking about that made me go off on that tangent. Yeah, so I'm trying to clear out a new little spot for my horses to graze in, hopefully before all the grass is gone. But I have been working all summer on a new area that I'm fencing in. But most of you guys probably know, my property is just nothing but solid timber. Just completely solid, nasty, thick, tangled timber. And it's just awful, so it takes a lot of time. And it also costs money to put up fence. Fence is not cheap. So the time I've spent like just gradually paying for things like the insulators, the T-posts, the wire, like I need to buy more wire already, but just all the things of that nature. It all just takes time unless you've got hundreds of dollars to just drop on fence right away, but I don't. And the problem with I've got most of it fenced in, like I've got the perimeter fenced in, and what I'm going to do is just put the horses and the goats in the pasture and let them kind of stomp and trample everything down, and then I can go clean up like the logs and stuff, because otherwise I have to like try and crawl through all of these tangled weeds and vines and burrs, and it's just ridiculous. So I want them to do that for me and trample it all down so that I can just access all the logs and stuff that needs cleaned up much easier. But the thing with having a timber like this, and even if you don't like an acreage just with that has trees on it or has bushes on it or, the weeds and whatever. The problem with having a place like this that is so dense in timber and trees is that one is always falling over. There is always another tree falling. There's always massive branches falling out of the trees. And my property, or the one I live on, if you guys don't know, like I've talked about it before, but this property was just kind of a dumping ground before I lived on it, and the whole probably last like 50 years of the family owning this property has just been a place to dump random stuff, or it hasn't been used for anything. Before like my boyfriend's mom put this trailer on the property, it was just an empty plot of land that like the family just used for whatever. They would like camp on it or plant like random corn plots on it to test new corn out. it was just not used for really anything. It was just here. So it has just kind of grown into this wild, just awful, like the worst free property you could get to put animals on. But it also, like, before its current life, it was used, way back, probably 100 years ago. I think my boyfriend's great granddad lived here, and they did use it. Like, it was a property at one time. So out in this timber, there is random things out there that are not safe, and they worry me. Like, there is fence that is just either still half standing, or it's like it's been pulled down by the weeds and the vines and stuff, so it's all like wrapped up in the grass, and like you can't see it. I trip over it all the time. I'm constantly like pulling new chunks of it out of the dirt. It rips up my boots, like all of my mud boots that are like, not knee high, but they're like the tall rubber boots. I usually wear those out there because they're the most protective of like my shins and stuff, but they're just all ripped up because of like the barbed wire. Like, I randomly will step on a chunk of barbed wire, or I'll step in a fence because I can't see it on the ground, and it'll just rip my boots. There's also like thorn bushes, like wild raspberries and wild rose bushes like out there, and those things are aggressive. Like, they are hard. Sometimes I will come back in the house later and the thorns will still be stuck in my pants. Like, I obviously walked past it and I pulled it off of me, but the thorns like still stuck into my pants, and they're big thorns. And so it is just aggressive out there, but there's always just like something that needs done. So what was my tangent for that? I think just like, just no matter what property you have, even if it's not like this bad of one, there's always just something that's going to come up. Even like when I'm not working on putting up a new fence or pasture, I am, going around my current ones because the fence has gone out and it's clearly not working because Oakley has gotten out. Or I need to go around because like the weeds and stuff are so bad here. Horses don't eat weeds, obviously. So the weeds will just keep growing in the paddocks and stuff, and then they'll short out the fence, or they're just like growing wild and I need to go cut them all off or spray them. I've spent so many hours during the warm weather like spraying for weeds and just like trying to keep the weeds down, which is why I got the goats, but they're pretty useless. So yeah, there's just always like something that needs done. Like Dolly, when I still had Dolly, I just like put her in the round pen one day because the grass was starting to grow in the round pen and I figured she could eat it down, right? She breaks the freaking rail off the round pen. So now I have one rail that's just kind of like zip tied together. It's just being held there, but really needs to be like, the screw needs to come out and be put back in properly. But just like stuff like that, there's always something that's breaking. Horses are getting into things. The weeds are growing. You have to buy hay. So that's something I have to keep track of all the time, is like, how much hay do I have? When do I need to buy more? When's the next time I get paid so that I can afford to buy more hay, etc., etc. And like with boarding, you don't have to do any of that. And the waterers, now that we're getting into cold weather, I need to buy tank heaters. I've got one that works really well. So I'm not, stressing about it quite yet because it's not quite cold enough to like freeze the water tanks over or anything. But that's another thing, like going into the different seasons, is like when you have your horses at home, you have to constantly check that. If you don't have an automatic waterer that like heats itself and whatever, I need to currently get a big tank into Hazel's pen because Hazel just has one of the small buckets right now because she's by herself. But when I move a couple more horses in with her, like they're going to need a big tank. And I have one, but it's metal, so it's heavy, and I need to just make time. That's kind of on my to-do list today, if I get to it, to flip it and drag it into her pen. But yeah, so you have to constantly check that stuff, when your horses are at home. And now, I'm not saying like if you have a horse, you just shouldn't have to take care of it or do any work, but it is just kind of an inconvenience to have to do chores all the time. I mean, I'm just being honest. That's what we get when we sign up to having horses. But it is annoying and inconvenient, especially when the weather sucks. It's pouring down rain or it's snowing. It's sleeting outside. It just, ugh. It is like, or if you have it like a day job. And one thing for me that's really difficult is I hate doing things in the dark. And in the morning, I have a really hard time getting up in the dark. I always have. So in the winter, when I get up, even at just like 6 o'clock or 6:30 to go to work, it is dark outside. And I'm just like, ugh, I can't get up. Like, I can't wake up. My body is refusing. So then I like wake up last minute. I'm scrambling to get ready for work and whatever. And I still got to go out and do chores. So I'm not saying like, you know, I hate having to like take care of my horses or anything like that. I understand I have to take care of them. It's just like one extra thing you have to do. And then, like I said, when the weather sucks and stuff. But I hate doing them at night in the dark too. So especially like now that I have horses that are eating more grain than others, like I have to get her out. I have to stand there and wait for her to eat all of her grain before I can put her back in. Ugh, it's a whole thing. But it's just, horses are just inconvenient in general. So what can you say? The benefit is that you don't have to pay board. But you have to pay for all of the other things that like your board pays for. Boarding facilities don't make a lot of money. I mean, I've worked at several of them and they just don't make a lot of money off of like stall board and stuff like that. Off of pasture board, that's kind of where most places will make their money because they're spending less in bedding. They're spending probably less in hay because most pasture places, like they have access to a round bale outside, which is significantly cheaper than high quality small bales. They're paying for labor, you know, people that are helping with chores, unless your barn owner is doing it all themselves, and like props to them. But most places have hired help of some kind or people that are boarding in exchange for work, which also costs, you know, a facility money. Some, probably not as much, but some. So yeah, but boarding also sucks. Because, like, at least in my experience, like, I mean, the barns that I have boarded at, great people have done me lots of favors, but boarding in general just kind of sucks no matter who you are, because you're not seeing your horse all the time. And in my experience, like, especially at the barn that I work at now, like, I don't know if I want to board at a big barn like that. I like the smaller, more personalized barns that only have a few boarders. These big barns that have all kinds of boarders, it's all about efficiency. It's just like any other company that you could work at. It's about efficiency, cutting costs, etc. So like, what I'm trying to get at is your horse might learn some bad habits at these big barns. And that would frustrate me as a horse owner because like the barn I work at now, some of these horses just have nasty habits that irritate the crap out of me. And if they were my horses, I would have to bite it in the butt immediately because I could just not tolerate that. There are horses that like are pinning their ears and stuff every time you go to feed them. Every single morning, they're pinning their ears at you, or they're pinning their ears and like, you know, jumping at the other horses walking by. What really irritates me is every day we turn all of the horses out by hand. So we have to halter each one, walk it out to its paddock and unhalter it. And these horses get so used to that every single day that the minute you like put your hand up by their ear to pull off the halter, or when you unbuckle the buckle, they just like rip their head out of the halter and walk away. And that is so rude to me. I do not let my horses do that. Sugar started doing that a little bit towards the end of the summer, like because of the lesson kids and stuff. And I would not let her do it. Every time now I put her away, I take her halter off inside the gate and I just make her stand there for a second. And when I walk away, then she can walk off. But these horses, they get so used to it that they know you're about to take their halter off. So when you put your hand up there, they just rip their head out of the halter. And it's so rude. I could not stand if my horse did that all the time. Just like bad habits like that, like rude habits. But like when you're at a barn that has all kinds of employees, and is run very company-like. You know, they don't care about like your horse's habits and your horse's training and whatever. Like, they care about getting all the horses out as quick as possible so that they can move on with their work for the day. And so it's kind of like, I don't know, you got to choose your pros and cons. Like, for me, I just, that would not fly with me. Like, there are some of the horses, I'll admit, it's not my job to like train people's horses or anything, but there are some horses that get so bad about it with the halter thing that I will do the same thing to them. I will just make them stand there, and then when I drop the halter and walk away, then they can walk off. And I know, I'm like, this isn't my horse, this is not my responsibility, but it irritates me so much, and I have to deal with this horse every single day. They can stand here until I walk away. Now, I will say, I experience people complaining a lot, so I usually just kind of roll my eyes, but things don't always go your way at a boarding facility, which is fair to the boarding facility, I will say. But, you know, sometimes you might go and your horse doesn't have very much hay for the night, or your horse doesn't have very much bedding. And I'm a very realistic person. Like, I don't think that horses need 8 inches of bedding in their stall, especially if they're going out and they're living outside all day. If they're just coming in for the night, I think it's a little excessive and ridiculous to have so much bedding in horses' stalls, and it's wasteful as well. So if you're at a boarding facility and you feel like complaining all the time, try your best to refrain and really complain if it's actually necessary, because you have to remember, at like big barns with all kinds of boarders, the management and the employees are hearing about it all day long. And that's one thing that like our barn manager really struggles with, is the fact that she's there every single day. She puts out horses every single day. She cleans the stalls herself. She feeds herself. She's got to organize like how much hay they have and when to buy hay. And she's got to fix all the fence. She's got to, you know, dump all the tanks and scrub them out herself. We don't have like a maintenance person to do all like the fixing the waterers and stuff. She has to do it. And we do it too. But it's hard for her because she is busting her ass all day long, every single day. And then just to hear boarders come and be like, there's not enough bedding in my horse's stall. Or that horse is picking on my horse in the pasture. And just like stuff like that, like literally the least of her worries. Like, she has so many other things to do and worry about. And like, then people want to come up and complain like, my horse's stall wasn't good enough. And so she really struggles with that. And like always hearing like what people have to complain about, but never, you know, recognizing the good things that she does. Like getting the best hay pot. Like, she is so picky on hay. I honestly, sometimes I'm just like, whatever. Because like, I'm not that picky on hay. I don't feed my horses bad hay, but like, she is very picky and particular on hay. She won't even buy round bales if they've been rained on outside. Now, round bales, they don't go bad on the inside, so it's not like any big deal. But she won't buy them if they've been rained on. She buys the best hay she could find. So, you know, she doesn't get any recognition for that. We go out there and we clean out like the outdoor sheds. And a lot of boarding facilities don't do that. Like, your stalls get cleaned, but like the sheds outside that horses like go under for the rain or whatever, they don't get cleaned at other boarding facilities. We go out and we hand scoop them, or we use the skid loader and we scoop them out. Horses go out rain or shine, which some people don't like, but really it's the best thing for the horses. And that's why a lot of the horses at the barn that I work at don't have like nasty behavior issues, because they get to go out every single day. They're on a strict routine. And they go out whether it's thunderstorming outside or whether it's a great, beautiful day out. They always have the opportunity to go out. We take a lot of pride in like how the barn inside looks. So we sweep, we cobweb, we dust, all that type of stuff. Nobody ever compliments, well, I'm not going to say ever. Once in a while somebody will, but not very often does somebody compliment how nice the barn looks. We dump the water buckets every single day, and they get scrubbed once a week. So the buckets are never like stinky and nasty. At my last barn, the buckets would get so gross because the horses would like slop their grain into them, and then it would stink and rot. And we have one hay dipper. So like, he dips his hay every single day. We have to dump it and clean it. So his like buckets never get nasty. And so like if you board at a facility, just keep in mind all of the things that like people are doing to take care of your horse and provide good care, and just don't only look at the bad things. Like there wasn't enough bedding in your stall or something. So yeah, both boarding and having your horses at home, they just both kind of suck. Just owning horses just kind of sucks sometimes. It's so much more work than it is enjoyment, but the enjoyment usually outweighs like the work. So that was my tangent for the day. And I think I've said what I need to say. So let's said what I need to say. Let's go on to a comment of the day. I realized in the last video when somebody commented that I haven't been doing the comments of the day. My bad. So, okay, we'll just read a couple. This one is on, I don't remember what episode this is, but the episode where I was talking about my hay dilemma. And I don't even remember what I was talking about. But somebody had commented that hay is a big stress for them. And Crystal Maley responded, in Texas, coastal rounds, like round bales, are $130 and squares are $12.50 from my guy, but I've seen people charging as much as $25. It's scary here with the drought. Every farmer is out of hay. People don't know how they're going to get through winter. And that she recommends Hay Chicks hay nets. Mine lasted well, and they have sales all the time, so try and catch one of them. Okay. I do need to get some slow feed hay nets for winter still. And so I have kept an eye on Hay Chicks. We have slow feed nets at the barn I work at, but my barn manager said that they were like $300 nets, and they are like hefty nets, but there is no way that I'm buying those. So that's very expensive. I think I was talking about, hay prices in that video. I have seen lately some round bales that are like already priced over $100, which for Iowa, that's a lot. Like I have only paid $100 for a round bale few years, and that usually has been when like we have had a really dry year and like nobody got much hay yield. But I don't think I've ever paid like that much regularly. I currently have some saved on my Facebook Marketplace. Somebody here in town has them for sale. They're like $70. And honestly, I don't care if they, I'm not going to say I don't care about the quality, but they don't have to be super nice quality. Like, especially hay through the winter that I'm not riding my horses. I'm not concerned about like their performance. They just need hay to keep them warm for the most part. Of course, you do want it to have some nutritional value. But the biggest thing is keeping the horses warm and something that they can constantly munch on, that is edible, is not, moldy or anything. Just forage to like keep their gut moving. So, the round bales that my barn manager buys at work, I think she pays like $200 per round bale. Like she pays a lot of money because they're like straight alfalfa round bales. They're about the same quality as the small bales that she gets. So the horses just eat them like candy and they get so fat. But I'm not one of those people. Like my horses at home, they don't need the highest quality hay that I can find. They just need hay so that they have something to eat, something to keep their gut moving through the winter and to stay warm, etc. I can supplement with like grain and alfalfa pellets and stuff if I feel like the bales aren't, up to par. But I don't stress about, quality that much. I don't want it to be ditch hay, obviously, like full of weeds and stuff, but like just grass, just waterway grass, that's fine. I will say the round bales that we had last year that came from my dad's house, like the horses did not like them very well. And they didn't because I think my dad did oats as like a cover crop for the field that we were using for hay, and he did oats as a cover crop, and he planned to like combine the oats and harvest the oats so that we would have oats for, like just for feed. But the weeds got so bad in that area that he just decided not to even combine the oats, and he just round baled it. So, well, I guess I should say grass, not necessarily weeds, because the horses did eat it pretty well. But half of the round bales were like oats and like oat stems, which is basically just straw. And horses don't eat that, obviously. So they wasted like half the round bales because they didn't eat it because it was all straw. And so we just have all this waste all over the ground, and they just weren't that good of round bales, but they worked. I don't know. I still have one that needs to be fed out and gotten rid of, but for small squares, $12.50 is insane. I don't know how. I would never be able to afford that. I'm lucky that we have access, like at my dad's place, to bale our own hay. Yeah, that is truly a blessing. So my boyfriend's family also does hay. So if I like get in a pinch, usually I can offer to buy one from them or whatever. But 25, God, that's crazy. It would almost be, I don't know, it would almost be worth buying cubes at that point. Like $25 for a small square bale. Like, let's say your square bale is like 40 pounds. I feel like that's a pretty average weight. Really heavy ones will be like 50 pounds. But like 30, 40 pounds for a small square is pretty normal, at least where I'm from. So for $25, you may as well just buy a 50-pound bag of cubes for like $12.99 or whatever they are at the store. Which, you know, you don't really like to replace your horse's natural forage that way, but, you know, if you're just scraping by, God, I couldn't imagine paying so much. I mean, I'd have to get 2 full-time jobs. Okay, I'm gonna see if there's another comment here anywhere. I don't know why, but I got an email early this morning. If any of you guys have, you know, channels or anything, I got an email early this morning that, like, so I only get paid from YouTube, like, by my AdSense, right? So the AdSense, like, accrues, and then once you get so much money, then it deposits into your account. I got a notification earlier this morning, an email that said one of my AdSense accounts had been canceled. And I was like, what? I hope not. So I got on, you know, the Google, whatever, the account, and it shows my AdSense money still there, like waiting to be deposited. So I don't know what the email was about. I'm going to have to like reach out and figure that out because, so if anyone else got that email, let me know. I'm really confused. If you're looking for more clients, come to the Madison area. The majority of lesson barns have wait lists. I lucked out finding a half lease through a private farm, but it's been crazy even finding a place to ride when I moved here. Also, I follow Katie's Corral too, and I don't know much about her, but I agree she puts more work into the ads and seems reputable. You can never be too careful these days. That was a comment on my last episode with when I was talking about rescues. I go to Madison once a year for the Kentucky Horse Fair, and I'm actually really surprised that it is so big there. I guess it makes sense like why the horse fair would be there, but I do enjoy my time in Madison, but it's a couple hours away, and I just cannot move at this time. In seeing the video title, I thought, Grace, she was blessed to have you, but man, what a shady group to do such a disservice to her and their other horses. And no vet care, bottom of the barrel horse traders for sure. Your friend's experience sounds awful. I don't mind real rescues having certain rules and criteria to make sure a horse doesn't end up in a bad place, but they need to actually follow through on that. So yeah, my friend actually ended up not adopting from that place, and I don't know if I talked about that in the episode or not, but she ended up not adopting from them just because she just got a weird feeling from them. And their place, the property that like this rescue was on, was just, you know, I'm not going to judge people. Like, my property is nothing to brag home about either, but this rescue that obviously got all of their horses paid for and was basically just paying to feed them until they adopted them out for triple the price. I was kind of surprised to see how, I hate to use the word dumpy, I really do, but that's the only way I can describe their property. That's the only word that's coming to mind. And I know that like when I went and looked at Grace or picked up Grace, that they had just moved to this property, so they were trying to clean it up. But there was like a bunch of garbage and stuff everywhere that like I feel like horses could get hurt on. And there was all of this grass area that like was not even hot wired or like fenced in at all, that the horses could have been grazing on. Grace could have been grazing on, considering she was literally skin and bones when I picked her up. So like all of that just kind of confused me. And they actually, this particular group, a few months ago announced that they were relocating. And not too long before that, I saw somebody comment on one of their Facebook pages, oh, they were raising money to have a horse euthanized. Because they had pulled her from the sale barn ring and whatever, but she ultimately, they couldn't adopt her out. Like nobody would adopt her. And so they made like some Facebook posts, like if they can't find this horse a home, like the best thing for her is going to be put down. And so they were raising money to help fund her euthanization. And somebody commented on one of their posts and was like, I'm sorry, but you're supposed to be a horse rescue. And sometimes that is what happens when you decide you're going to rescue horses, is you bite the bullet and you eat some of the cost once in a while to give a horse proper departure of the world. You know, like you can't just like ask for everybody to pay for everything for you all the time. If you're going to actually care about these horses, and if you were going to consider yourself a rescue and doing what's right by the horse, sometimes you just need to eat that cost and do what's best for the horse and just put it down. It's not everybody else's responsibility to care for your horses. And so I saw that comment and I was like, oh, snap. Like they just went off. And the page made a post about, you know, everybody has opinions and whatever. And not long after that, they announced that they were relocating to Florida. And I don't know if they have yet, but I haven't been following their page that closely, and they haven't been posting much on their page. So I don't know if they did relocate to Florida, but I had to just wonder in the back of my head if their reputation had something to do with it. And they are lucky, like somebody, I don't know, was going off in one of these comments and I had to respond, like they're lucky that like I'm just a good person and I decided to do what's best for Grace and just let her live out her days with me after I had, you know, figured she was old. I could have just taken her back and told them to give me my money back and blasted them on the internet and told everybody how big of liars they were, but I didn't. I decided to just do what was best for Grace, give her, you know, the proper care for her life, because I don't know what Grace went through in her life. I don't know if she was broke or not. When I adopted her, her ad said Project Under Saddle, so I have no idea what that meant. So I don't know if she was broke or not, or if she was a driving horse one time in her day and, you know, gave her whole life to people and whatever, and then just got dumped at a sale barn. So I just, you know, she was a sweet horse. She never caused me any problems, and I thought it was only fair to her to just give her a soft landing. And yeah, so she's buried here on the property now, and she was a good little mascot to have around. I shouldn't say little, she was literally huge. But I think that's all I have for today, guys. I just realized that my anchor stopped. Ugh. All right, hold on. I gotta do the outro. I don't know where I left off, but it was like 8 minutes ago. I hate that I forget this. Like I go to another tab while I'm still recording. Yeah. So I go to another tab when I'm still recording, and then Anchor after 30 minutes just stops, and I don't know it until like I go back to that tab, and then it's been like 5 minutes. So if you're listening to this on Anchor or on Spotify or wherever, I apologize. You just missed like 5 minutes of me talking, because I forgot again that the website stops after 30 minutes. And my phone, like the app on my phone does not do that. So I don't know why it does that, but I basically was just going off on the rescue that I got Grace from. So you can watch my whole last episode about that if you know, missed it or are desperate to hear. Or you can watch the video of this episode on YouTube. But anyways, I think that's about all I have today to complain about and whatnot. So I'm going to go ahead and end off. this podcast here. Hope you guys enjoyed listening. Let me know what else you want to see down below or any topics for future episodes. Also, make sure to check out the description before you click off, because all of my social medias are down there, as well as my Buy Me a Coffee, where you can donate or buy me a coffee to support the channel and the podcast or whatever you want. So anyways, check out the description before you go, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys later. Bye.